Hey everyone, welcome to the Get Your Life Together Girl Mini Mindset Reset. I'm your host, Danielle Van. As a cognitive behavioral therapist, a life coach to women, and author, one thing has become abundantly clear. So much of what gets in our way in our daily lives is not only how we think, but what we think, our mindset. Because of that, every other week, I'm taking your requests and questions and handing over quick, easy to use, practical strategies and life tools to help you shift your thinking, create calm, help you understand and express your emotions, harness your inner power, and learn how to navigate your personal story in 15 minutes or less. After all, how else can you get your life together? So let's shift your perspective with the tools and conversations that help you in the throes of change. The Get Your Life Together Girl podcast mini mindset reset starts right now. Let's face it, relationships can be hard. Everyone knows that, but it is especially true when we're talking about long-term romantic relationships. When we know our partners intimately, we tend to forecast or assume what we know that they're thinking or what they need, how they're going to respond, what they want, what they like. You get it? All the things. Yet that assumption or lack of discovery questions is the exact place where we trip up and cause our own problems. Davida from Puerto Rico wrote in and said, Danielle, I've been married for 21 years. We love and respect one another. However, I have noticed in the last 2 years that our communication has greatly changed. We both have grown so much individually and within our marriage. We consider our marriage to be strong, but we both have begun to notice that minor disagreements on things like doing the dishes or what time our oldest has to be home are really turning into bigger issues than they should be. Is there something we can do to help one another guide each other through these moments? I find myself mad at him and I want him to respond differently. He becomes mad at me. Sometimes we talk it out and sometimes it sits and waits for days. It's not a healthy cycle. We both want to stop it, but what do you suggest? First and foremost, thank you for this question. I laugh because you are not alone. I know my husband and I have experienced this. I know the couples I work with on a daily basis have experienced this. There is no partnership that this does not find its way into. So please know this is normal and there are absolute ways to fix it. So let's talk about the two tools that I love the absolute most when it comes to changing the rhythm, changing the way you communicate with your partner and the way that your partner communicates with you. And ladies listening, understand that you must explain the purpose and the process of this tool before you start using it. Remember that our partners can't actually meet us where we are if we don't give them all of the information. And so we want to be fair to them, be fair to you. If we're not, then we're losing the communication and the tool in the process of translation. And your needs aren't going to be met any more than you arguing back in a hard situation. Okay, so let's dive right into this mindset reset. And one of the biggest issues that we're talking about here is the communication that comes down to assumption. If we assume what somebody's thinking because we have a standard set of evidence, we know how they've responded in the past, we take away the right now factors. I'm sure there's probably other words for it, but that's what I call it, the right now factors. So what does that mean right now? Let me give you an example, a little thought process so that you really jump into the right now factors very quickly and we can carry on. Okay, so what happens if you've had a great day? How do you typically respond to things? Even the things that are uncomfortable or a little harder or maybe have a little bit of conflict in them. You respond pretty well, right? You tend to let things go. It sort of slides off your back, as the saying goes. You don't feel like you have to stay on your ground and you don't feel like you have to try to control the situation. But what happens if you have an awful day? What does that response look like? Maybe it feels and sounds like, how come my partner isn't really understanding how I'm feeling? Or why can't I catch a break? Or why are you doing this right now? Or why are you making me feel a certain way? The good day, the bad day, these are the right now factors. To go a step further, the right now factors are where your mindset is, what's occurred in your day, where you are emotionally, where you are mentally, where you are in sort of the vortex of your day. These are the right now factors, and they're the things that can alter how you may or may not show up to a moment. If you don't have all the information you need and you assume, just like I said a few minutes ago, you will cause a problem. So how can we turn a moment like getting upset about the dishes not being done into a moment of discovery and importance? First, we ask questions so that we can gather the right now information. Again, right now is not to be assumed, it's to be asked. So let's say your child or your spouse or someone close to you is at the sink looking at a pile of dirty dishes. You can tell that they're starting to get upset. And instead of saying, "What's wrong?" because that's an invitation to explode in frustration, you start asking discovery questions. What is a discovery question? Just as it sounds, you're information seeking. You're trying to find those right now moments. If we have them, we can help ourselves process the situation and navigate it. So let's go back to the sink, okay? You see that person in front of you building an upset. A discovery question may sound like, "Hey, you look upset. Is everything okay?" We're asking them to open the door in what they're feeling. Or you can even try to be open with your truth. "Hey, it was such a long day for me. I haven't had a chance to do the dishes yet. You look upset. How about I do them for you? Do you want me to do them?" Right? That last part is opening the door for another alternative. Let the person answer. And if they get upset and they start saying, "No one helps me around here," you just wait for a moment, allow them to stop speaking, and then offer a kind response. This is practicing the pause so that you don't match the energy that they're throwing back at you. A kind response sounds like, "I understand you're upset. There is help, but I understand right now it doesn't feel like there is. How's your day been? Are you okay?" It's right here in that question, "Are you okay?" that we often hear the right now factors that led to the frustration you're both experiencing at the moment. That person is really telling you where they are physically. "I'm exhausted. I've had a rough day." They say where they are mentally. "My mindset is not in a good place. Emotionally, I don't feel grounded and healthy at the moment." The right nows explain what we're experiencing, the energy that's being put forth, and they are so very important. And when you have them, you can then employ the scale of importance. This is something, again, that so many of my couples use. I use in my own life. So important, so simple. But again, please have a conversation with the person you are using it with so that you're both on the same page. So what is the scale of importance? Think of it as a survey of emotions and feelings and even thoughts and how you and someone else sees a certain moment. We've all taken those surveys, right? Where you've asked, like, "How important is this to you?" And then you rate it based on a 1 to 10 scale. 10 being that's the most important thing to me, and 1, it's not so important. Take it or leave it. This is what we're using, right? We can use it from communications to emotions to physically, mentally, financially, whatever it is, right? So let's go back to that sink. Your partner has just explained how they feel, and they're unhappy because they feel as if the workload is really heavily on them. It's not properly divided. And while you can guess that this is a significant issue for them, you can actually change the moment by using the scale. So that sounds like, "Honey, I know you're upset and I see this matters, but from 1 to 10, how important to you is it that the dishes are taken care of immediately or before you get home from work?" 2 things are going to happen. 1, you're going to get them thinking. And generally, this comes down to a quick assessment of their own personal reactions. It gets them into the right now factor for themselves. And I know my husband has said, "I'm happy to help. It's not that I need this to be done before I get home. It's just I want the kids to help." So there we go. We have really pulled apart the situation. We have taken the right now out of it. We've gotten down to the real matter at hand. And it helps us really get into focus, right? It's not that I'm upset that the dishes are in the sink. It's that I feel like no one's carrying the workload too. It's a 10, right, on that scale. On a scale of importance of it being done by someone else, it's really a 1 or 2. It really is about the helping factor. We're all working together, which is a 10 for my husband. It may be a 10 for yours as well. In the situation where we talk about kids calling and needing a time to be home and you don't agree, perhaps your spouse feels like, I'm not being heard. And my not being heard is really a 10 on the scale of importance. I want to feel like we're making the decisions together. It's so important. So how can you get to a space where you understand what a 10 means for you and a 1 means for your partner? Sit down. Sit down with your partner. Take out a piece of paper and write a scale from 1 to 10. And next to each of those numbers, come up with a definition that you jointly both know so that you can really employ them. 1 may mean it's not that important. It's just a topic of conversation. 10 may mean that the world is on fire and it has to be handled right now. 5 may actually be very neutral. Hey, I'm just putting this out there. We need to handle this or talk about it. But it's not really that immediate. It's sort of just this thing that's between us. We'll circle around it again later. When it comes to emotions, you can do the same thing too. Between 1 and 10. 1 may be, I'm good, don't need support. 10 is, I'm not okay in this present moment, and I need you to understand that. I'm at a 10. Let me have some space. I have couples who use this for everyday things, from taking out the trash to picking up the laundry on the floor to even handling really important conversations. So they'll come to the spouse and say, I have some stuff I want to talk about, but sort of where are you in the scale? Are you at a 10 where you don't feel like everything's good, or are you at a 1? And this really helps give you a relatability to your spouse, to your partner. This really is a very powerful tool. It may seem relatively small, but it does absolutely give us all of the qualifying information we need. It helps us kind of find a space for communication, and it takes us out of that small space of uncertainty and really out of big reaction. So give it a try. If we allow ourselves to reset the moment, guess what? We're in a good, healthy mindset and good, healthy, emotional body place. That's where we have to be if we want strong relationships. So I hope that you will give this a try. Thank you so much for such a great question. I hope it does ease your own personal communication strain. And again, these small tools are packed with very big power. I hope it works for everyone who puts it into practice. Thank you so much for listening to the Get Your Life Together Girl mini mindset reset. If you have a subject or a strategy request, email us at getyourlifetogethergirl@gmail.com. Or you can visit our website at getyourlifetogethergirl.com. If you're looking for daily inspiration or tips and tools, join the growing community at Get Your Life Together Girl on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Thank you for being a valuable member of this community. Until next time, be kind to yourself and others.